Right, just a quick example of a unit in our school using mobile technology. So this was a unit taught last year in year 8 on a course called TDU. This course will be replaced next year with Google Projects, but it'll follow a lot of the same principles. Now, in this unit, we taught using the iTech project model, which is based around the things you see on the screen here. So you start off asking the students to dream or think about a topic, get them hooked. They then explore it, and they map out their findings. They make some kind of product. They ask people for feedback, remake it, and then present that product at the end, reviewing it. So it's a fairly simple process and just gives the unit a little bit of structure. This particular unit was called Personal Artifact. So the reason it has a ship's wheel in the middle is because I tried to model the project by bringing in a personal artifact of my own. Students were asked to do the same. Now the idea is you take this personal artifact, in my case a ship's wheel, and you then use that as a vehicle to conduct an inquiry. So the first thing that students do is choose an object which means something to them. They then ask questions about it. What do they know already? What can they find out? What can they research? What areas might this artifact lead them to? They think about what they found out, make sense of it, work out what's reliable, what's useful, and then they make some kind of product to share their findings with other people, getting feedback on the prototype of that product, getting critique and improving it. And this may happen a few different times to come up with newer drafts. They'll remake it, and eventually they'll articulate the findings to an audience, ideally a real-life authentic audience using the internet or experts or inviting people in. So to give an example of where this could lead you, in my case, the wheel was actually found on an abandoned Russian warship in the middle of a river in Sierra Leone, and it worked its way into our household. So that could lead to all sorts of inquiries about Sierra Leone, about actual ships. It could be about Russia. Why was a Russian warship there? It could actually be about agriculture in Sierra Leone, because that's why people who found that wheel were actually there. It could be about the diamond trade. There's all sorts of avenues that it can take students in. In terms of the technology, this is how the technology helped to make this happen. So in the dream phase, there was basically a ban on technology. We wanted them to think about their artifact and come up with what they wanted to research without really using too much technology. They could then explore that using a whole host of tools. Things like Evernote allowed them to record their findings. Google obviously allowed them to carry out research. And on our learning wall, we've got a number of tools like the Kipling questions, our question dice, and the thinking hats to allow them to explore that artifact from different perspectives and come up with questions that they want to research and ask about it. For the map stage, again, our learning wall was used heavily, and they used their thinking tools and a mixture of graphic organisers we provided them with to actually make sense of the research and start filtering it to what was useful, what was reliable, and what they wanted to include in their product to tell other people about their artifact. During the make phase, the camera on devices was invaluable, because this allowed students to take pictures of their work. And even on the Chromebooks with the webcam being front facing, you can still take photos of what you're doing as you go. And they had to do quite a bit of written work as part of that as well when they were making their product. So we used things like our VCOP wall and literacy wall to help with that, structuring sentences, writing for the right audience, and so on. The calendar tool was essential because we were asking students to actually manage their own time. So we taught them how to use the calendar as a way of doing that, and the task list that's part of Google Calendar as well. And also video was very, very useful, because this was used to give them ideas on products that they could make to help them. To ask for feedback, there was obviously face-to-face, but also we have a class blog for every student. So students put their ideas on the class blog, which meant that everybody in the class could reply to each other's posts and give feedback, including the teacher. Google Hangouts were used to meet up with experts, where we were able to identify experts related to particular products and artifacts. Students could conduct polls to find out what people thought of different ideas. And although it no longer exists, Stick2 is an augmented reality app, was an augmented reality app that allowed students to take pictures of their products, and then other people leave virtual feedback on top of those pictures, so that when you hovered a tablet over it or a webcam, it would pop up with all of the different feedback that people had given them. There are different tools now that allow you to do the same thing, now that Stick2 has disappeared. The remake, very similar to the make. And then to show this stuff, they actually recorded presentations that you did using the video camera. They actually rehearsed them to start with, recorded themselves, and then improved them. We put examples of products on Twitter so that an external audience could see them. We made a Weebly website for all of the products in the class, so they were all on display there. And we also used AutoCue apps and websites so that students could actually have some kind of AutoCue to help them when they were doing their presentations. For assessment throughout, we created something called Sparkbook, which was an in-house assessment system to record the work that students had done and evidence of it, to give them feedback and allow them to respond. But very similar things could be done using things like Google Sites now, Google Classroom, or potentially even just a Google document that becomes a journal that students keep. So there are a whole host of ways that you could do this sort of thing. So, I hope that's useful. The point of that video really is just so you can see how the technology fits into a unit, and that the technology isn't driving the unit. It's really a facilitating tool that helps to make that unit better.